Hello everyone, it is the Gaming Weasel back again with another video. And in today's video I'm going to be doing the most controversial video that I did on my YouTube channel, the one that I didn't put a lot of thought in. It's going to be making a Warframe tier list. It is 2022 and I decided to make this on the beginning of 2022 and not at the end of 2021. And a couple of disclaimers that I want you guys to keep in mind and keep an open mind about this. It is my tier list. It is not made personally for me because I do not play every single Warframe the same amount of hours. I did and I do have every single Warframe inside of this tier list. I have played every single Warframe inside of this tier list at least 20, 30, 40 hours, some Warframes even more, some Warframes maybe a little bit less, but I think and I know and I have a decent amount of knowledge about Warframes, and especially since the comments on the last one, I didn't take into consideration some Warframes a little bit more, so in this one I'm going to be taking that into a bit more. I will not be taking into consideration some niche builds. For example, let's say Ash, Bladestorm, a mega cool build that is very good against this certain type of enemy, and that is basically it. I will not be taking those into consideration. This is mostly a Warframe usefulness tier list, which Warframes I think are useful in most mission types, and that I think are perfectly balanced, well-rounded, have good abilities and have good ability synergies, and that are good for 90% of the gameplay that you're going to be going through. I will be considering Steel Path as well. I will not be taking into consideration weapon combos even though I think I should, but honestly, I'm just looking at the Warframes themselves. I'm not looking at combos, for example, with Lavos and Aceto. I'm not be looking into those considerations because, honestly, I'm just looking at the Warframes as this is a Warframe tier list. If you guys have a different opinion, you can definitely leave it in the comment section below. If I make a mistake, which will probably happen, leave it in the comment section below. Just let it be constructive, and that is basically it. So, starting off with Frost. Frost is a Warframe that is decent in defending mobile defense targets and is good at defending defense targets themselves. He is pretty survivable with his snow globes. He can place down 3. He can freeze enemies with his 4, and his 4 does decent amount of damage. For Steel Path, I wouldn't really recommend him. There are definitely better Warframes inside of this tier list for Steel Path other than Frost, so I will not be taking Frost into, I guess, a Steel Path. I wouldn't really recommend him for that. If you're gonna defend stuff, yeah, he's pretty cool. For survival missions, he's okay-ish. For capture missions and fast missions, he's definitely not the Warframe to pick. He does have a decent sum of armor as well, but there are Warframes with higher armor values and better survivability than he does. So, honestly, out of his just usefulness factor and the fact that I've been playing Warframe for a really high amount of time at this current time, December, November, and October, I haven't seen any Frost players. Which doesn't mean there aren't any, it's just that he isn't as useful as he used to be before some other Warframes came inside of the game. Plus, defense missions are not played as much, and plus new Warframes have been added that can make the enemies much easier to kill, which basically makes them much easier or much harder to get to the defense target themselves. So, D tier is sadly going to be the place where Frost is going to sit, freezing down in D tier. Gara. Gara is the next Warframe. She's really good. She does have her second, I guess, second, first, and fourth ability combo, which basically surrounds her with glass. And if you stack this up, you can just walk next to enemies and kill them without any issues. But you have to be pretty consistent with this. You have to be pretty careful with this. You have to have a decent stat stick with her as well. It's not necessarily, I guess, you know, it's not necessary to have a stat stick. I mean, it would be really good, but if your combo, or I guess if your stacks disappear, then you have to build them up all over again. If a nullifier hits you, you're done for. And the 90% damage reduction is really good, I have to say. But it is 90% damage reduction. Her damage on her first ability and on her fourth ability is pretty decent, but if you stack it up for her second ability, it is much better, because you can literally just walk next to enemies that are not nullifiers and basically just shred them just by walking next to them. She does sort of make it easy game, but the range on it's not that big, and it's not the... I guess there are better Warframes to kill, that are better for killing than she is. So her usefulness is pretty decent. She can be pretty good because she can apply that 90% damage reduction on defense targets as well, which is very useful, believe me. Especially in Steel Path. In Steel Path, yeah, she is pretty okay. There are maybe a little bit better Warframes for Steel Path, but she is pretty good for Steel Path. I would definitely take her out sometimes on Steel Path. So, honestly, in my opinion, maybe C or maybe B tier. I'm not quite sure where to place her. I'm gonna place her in C tier. I might think about this, but just the fact that you have this like cool little niche sort of gimmick. I mean, it's not a niche gimmick. A lot of people build her for her second ability. But just because you have that, it can be easily countered by nullifiers. Of course, 99% abilities of Warframes, actually all of the Warframe abilities can be countered with nullifiers. But if there aren't any, and if you build up your stacks over a decent sum of time, because it will be rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat with her, I mean, doing all that is just basically just a long, tedious task, but it does pay off at the end if you don't lose your stacks. So C tier is pretty okay, I think, for her. I honestly think that is a pretty good place for her. Garuda. Now, I haven't honestly played Garuda in I think maybe 15 days or something. I did play her in Steel Path a little bit. She's pretty good, I have to say. She's pretty survivable. Her damage on her fourth ability is massive if you stack it up a lot. She can kill basically anything with her fourth ability. It does loads of damage. Her little, I guess, glass shield sort of type of thing is very great as well. It stacks up damage as well, and that's really good. She is, as I said, a really good survivable Warframe. Steel Path, yeah, I would use her. I would definitely use Garuda for Steel Path. She's very fun. She doesn't really make it easy mode, but she's an active Warframe, which suits my kind of playstyle. She's fun to use, she's fun to play with, and yeah, honestly, Garuda, I would place maybe B tier, but she's not that useful. Survival missions she's really good at. Defense missions, I mean, she's basically good at in every single mission. If you want to do capture missions and really fast missions, I wouldn't really recommend her because there are faster Warframes inside of the game. So I don't know, maybe B tier just because of Steel Path. But there are better Warframes inside of Steel Path, so I'll place it down in C tier for now. Because I'm actually not sure. I'll place it in B tier. I think she sort of deserves in B tier, and I honestly think that she is a pretty useful Warframe, but not utilized a lot. I haven't seen a lot of Garuda players in a long time, and yeah, but she is a pretty decent and well-rounded Warframe, and her abilities are pretty fun to use. Gauss, I have no question about this. He's going into A tier. Honestly, Gauss is really good. In my opinion, all four of his abilities are quite useful. Having speed on your side, having increased projectile speed, and also not projectile speed, but fire rate, reload is really good. His fourth ability is very cool as well. I love using it. His third ability is very fun and really good for extermination missions. If you're playing those, he can exterminate enemies without any issues with his third ability. His fourth ability, as I said, very useful. The damage reduction that he does get is quite nice and really good to have. So that is very good. The impact on his first, like when he crashes into it knocks enemies around, which is very good. So honestly, a pretty cool Warframe. If you want to do fast missions, he's great for it. For survival missions, he's decent, pretty decent. And yeah, honestly, I love using him for relic runs. He's very good. A tier definitely for me, well balanced, quite awesome to use, especially because the fire rate that you get, the fire rate increase that you get on your primary, secondary, and attack speed. So definitely would place him in A tier. I think he deserves to be there as well. Grendel. Grendel is a Warframe with a decent amount of health, a decent amount of armor. He sucks enemies in and spits them out and basically that is it. I don't... he can be used in Steel Path, yes. So can Gauss, I think a little bit less than Garuda, honestly, in my opinion. I just think that Gauss is more versatile, so that's why he's above Garuda, just so you know. But Grendel, he's good in Steel Path. I definitely would try him out and play him as well, but I don't... His abilities are pretty fun. Basically, they're fun. They're not useful, they're fun. Turning into a massive ball, doing minimal amount of damage is not efficient, I guess, if you want to say. It is fun. It is looks awesome, and sucking stuff in looks pretty awesome. But his usefulness is definitely D tier. Honestly, I think D tier is the best place you can be. Harrow. Now, I am a Harrow main, but I sadly don't think he belongs in S tier. Just a few Warframes that belong in S tier, but he's not definitely one of them. Harrow Prime just came out. He looks incredible, but looks aren't everything. Honestly, Harrow's abilities synergize perfectly with each other. First ability gives you shields, traps enemies, which is really great. Second ability sacrifices those shields for extra attack speed and reload speed, which is awesome. Third ability gives you energy and gives you health back by doing damage to enemies, which is incredible. And fourth ability gives you extra critical chance, which is always cool. You have an invincible phase as well, which is very fun and can be a really good scapegoat. Honestly, all four of his abilities are incredible and synergize perfectly with each other. I would definitely use him in Steel Path, and I love using him in Steel Path. Is he good for fast missions? Definitely not. Examination missions, no, because there are Warframes that can kill faster than he can. But survival and Steel Path survival, defense, he is very good. Especially if you're in one corridor, you are winning, son. You are definitely winning. I will put him in A tier, maybe because he's my favorite Warframe inside the game, but honestly, I think he's pretty versatile and he deserves to be in A tier. Hildren, the big mama. Hildren is gonna go to A tier, I think, straight away. Her abilities are very good. Having only shields is very nice, honestly, since the changes, the shields. And she has a lot of shields. Her abilities are shield based. You do not need energy. She is pretty good in most missions. Her Bellfire does a decent sum of damage. Honestly, pretty good. I think Garuda with her fourth can do a little bit more damage than Hildren can. Oh wait, I think I actually mixed it up. Is Garuda's 4 the one where? I'll be back in a second. I just now realized the whole video was saying that Garuda's 4 is her first ability, so I mean her first ability. I definitely do think that Garuda's first ability does more damage than Hildren's Bellfire Storm, but honestly, Hildren's 3 is very, very useful, and her second ability is very, very useful as well. Dropping extra energy orbs, literally draining the life force out of enemies. I've seen people just basically leave Hildren, go into the operator, and just basically any enemy that comes near him gets drained out of their life force and dies pretty fast. So Hildren is a very, very fun Warframe. She's very good. I love using her. Her Bellfire, as I said, is pretty good. Her fourth ability is fun-ish, I guess, and is pretty cool as well. And honestly, I think she's a well-rounded Warframe. For fast missions, definitely wouldn't recommend her. For survival missions, definitely yes. But I would actually move her down to B tier, and also Harrow as well, because honestly, like, when I compare them to Gauss, they are a bit more versatile, but I'm not sure. I'll leave them at A tier. I'll leave them at A tier for now, just because they are more survivable and more tanky than Gauss is. So for now, I'll definitely leave them there, and they deserve to be there. Hydroid. Oh, Hydroid, how you fell off. I'm so sorry, but I have to put you in D tier. I am sorry for all the Hydroid fans, and also the Grendel and the Frost ones. But Hydroid, the only good he's good at is his Pilfering Swarm, or I think it's called Pilfering Swarm. I kind of forgot the augment at the moment. And that is basically it. But Khora is a much better farming Warframe than he is. His abilities are lackluster. He turns into a puddle. He has rockets or torpedoes falling from the sky that do minimal amount of damage, and basically, yeah, other than that, he's not very useful. honestly, you haven't played my Hydroid in ages. My Hydroid is still at level 0, and I put a form on him, I think like 7 or 8 months ago. That's what I think about Hydroid. I'm sorry, but I have nothing more to say about Hydroid. And Inaros. Inaros is going to go into S tier. He's going to be the first Warframe to go into S tier for me. And this is why. Inaros is I think, the tankiest Warframe inside of the game. His health pool is the largest health pool inside of the game. Like, I think even Hildren with her shields and her health does not have as much combined as Inaros with an Umbral setup, with all of the good things and all of the possible things that can increase your health, does not have combined as an Inaros can. Inaros can gather up armor. His abilities are quite shit. Like, you can throw sand at enemies, which will stun them and open them up for finishes, which is cool. Which is actually quite cool. His tornado can throw around enemies, which is a decent AoE ability that, you know, can maybe crowd control a little bit, you know, just throw them off and less enemies shoot at you, but you have so much fucking health, it doesn't really matter, and so much armor, so that doesn't really matter as well. But he's gonna go into S tier just because of his incredible survivability. Just because of that, he's gonna go into S tier, and that's basically why I'm putting it there. He is versatile in most of the gameplay, I guess, styles, or anywhere you want to put him in, he's gonna be okay. In defense mission, he's quite useful. So, I mean, he just basically increases his health and armor, which doesn't really help out the team. But if you want to survive on Steel Path, this is the Warframe you should go for. Ivara. I haven't played Ivara for some time now, but honestly, she is a really versatile frame. Not the fastest frame, not the best for capture missions and extermination missions, but versatile nonetheless. She has a lot of cool augments, which is very good. And her abilities are very, very good. She has 4 different arrow types, which are really good. She has her bow, which is the Artemis bow, which is very good as well. Her first and second ability can be useful as well. Pickpocketing enemies can be decent. I've seen some people actually utilize that pretty good for farming some materials. And honestly, I would put her in A tier. I would honestly put her in A tier because she's pretty decent at like most of the things. But I'm like thinking of these 3 here. Honestly, yeah, I think this is pretty good. Ivara should definitely go into A tier. She's pretty useful and pretty good and fun to use. Ash is also gonna go into A tier. I've been using Ash more and more lately. His abilities are very good. He's actually decent in Steel Path. I didn't expect that from him. Ash is pretty decent in Steel Path. He is basically the ninja Warframe of Warframe. He has his, of course, Blade Storm, which is very good. He has his Seeking Shuriken augment, which reduces enemy armor. And, of course, he does a lot of damage. He can be sneaky as well. He can be useful for spy missions. For extermination missions, he's pretty decent as well. Even high level, because he can kill them with his 4th. And the armor reduction on the Seeking Shuriken is really, really fun and really, really useful. So, yeah, definitely A tier for me. Khora. Khora's gonna go into S tier, I think. Now, why would I put it in S tier? Because of her camping, damage, and farming abilities. She's really good at farming because of her Pilfering Strangledome. She is incredibly good at killing enemies, especially in the Strangledome. She is incredibly good for killing enemies. Venori is decent. She has Ensnare, which is also a really good ability. Pulling enemies together into a massive cluster is one of the best things you could possibly do inside of Warframe. Venori is okay. She's not the best thing in the world, but Khora, honestly, if you need the DPS, she's one of the best DPSs in the game. Now, she might have been a little bit nerfed, because the melee changes, but honestly, I haven't really seen a big of enough change. I usually invite a Khora to play with me when I'm playing a Neo survival mission, and honestly, I still haven't seen her fall off one a bit. So Khora, if you want to go for DPS, I mean, Mesa's pretty good. We'll talk about Mesa in a second. But Khora is definitely one of the best Warframes, I think, in the game for just farming, basically farming any material. 65% extra drop chance is really good. Paired with Nekros, the best combo you can possibly go for. And that's like one of the reasons that Hydroid fell off, because Khora appeared and she definitely, you know, trumps Hydroid in most of the aspects and abilities as well. Lavos. Lavos is a very fun frame. I have to say. Now, this will be my opinion, and I mean, also all of these picks are my opinion. But Lavos definitely deserves to be in a little bit of a higher tier. Mostly because he is really good. He's very good because it doesn't have energy. It does go on reduction. Steel Path is definitely easy mode for Lavos. The amount of status effects you can apply and just kill the enemies. How fast you can kill the enemies in Steel Path with him is incredible. I love using him. One of the best survival frames in the game. Decent health pool, decent armor pool. Honestly, I never was worried that I'm gonna die with him. He's just really that incredible. So honestly, I love him to bits. So I'm gonna place him in A tier as well. The only downside I think of most of these Warframes that I have right here is maybe like capture and spy missions. Even though Ash is a little bit better at spy missions, but these Warframes are really good at survival. They're all of these. They're really good at surviving. And they're really good at Steel Path. They can be used pretty easily without any issues. They're really good at that. I mean, Hildren is a little bit worse off if you're playing against Infested, but other than that, she's pretty good. Every one of these Warframes is pretty fun. He is also good in Railjack because he doesn't have energy, which means you can use your abilities inside of Railjack without, you know, really needing to, I guess, use energy because you don't have any. But all these Warframes are mostly here because of the survivability that they have. They have nothing. They're basically really good at surviving. Even though Ivara and Ash are useful in more missions alongside Gauss. But why I put, for example, Inaros and Khora here is they're really good at one specific thing. Really good, like tremendously good. Khora's good actually at DPSing and farming, and Oros is really good at surviving, like really good. So that's why they're here, and I honestly think they deserve to be here. So yeah, just quick explanation. Limbo's going to go into C. Actually, he's going to go into B tier for me. Limbo is pretty good. He's really good because of his small and large bubble that he can produce. Even though a lot of people don't like having a Limbo on their team, I think he's really good at the mobile defense missions. I wouldn't recommend defense missions. Mobile defense is definitely the way to go. He is also good at defense mission because he can make an exploding, I guess, bubble type of build, which is very good. So I would definitely, actually, I'll drop him down to C tier. I don't think he's as useful as Garuda is. He's really good at keeping things safe and annoying your teammates. So C tier is definitely going to be the place to go. As I said, pretty good at you know, killing enemies with his explosive bubble, doing a lot of instant damage, but not at high level. I would definitely wouldn't take him into Steel Path. There's no way I would take him into Steel Path. I would definitely rather take Gara, but that is even a question because I honestly think most of these Warframes, maybe Gauss and Ash a little bit worse than Gara at surviving at Steel Path, but definitely wouldn't take Limbo. That's a fact. Now, Loki. Loki's gonna go into B tier for me. His radial disarm is incredible. Believe me, if there's nothing that can shoot you, you lose much less HP. So disarming enemies is incredibly good. He is the spy ninja. He has the longest invisibility that you can possibly have, other than, of course, what's her name, Ivara, but with Loki you can move freely without needing to be hindered by moving just a little bit forward and walking in front and just rolling. So definitely Loki is the invisible boy, and also the radial disarm. The radial disarm, a lot of people actually don't look at him for that, but radial disarm is a really great ability. Being invisible makes you survive longer because enemies don't know what they're shooting at. They don't see you, so that's really cool. His decoy is pretty shit. I think his decoy should scale and have a little bit more HP, distract the enemies a bit more. But other than that, his teleport is decent. It's okay and fun to use, I guess. But I honestly think that Ash's teleport is a little bit better because of his fatal teleport, and sadly the old Jack attack build that I made, one of my oldest popular videos. But but Loki definitely is a solid B tier. A solid B tier, definitely. Now, Mag also is going to go into B tier. She is very good. I actually used her in Steel Path. She can definitely survive Steel Path. I mean, Loki can as well, because he's invisible and nothing can shoot him, because of Radial Disarm. But Mag can definitely survive Steel Path. A little bit less than these Warframes up here. I definitely would rather take Lavos, Hildren, Gauss, Ivara, or even any other, maybe not Ivara, but every one of these frames instead of her. But she's very good at bombing enemies, reducing their armor, killing enemies. She is very decent. I was actually surprised by how good of a Warframe she is. Now, why I put her in B tier? Well, that's mostly because I think there are better Warframes for surviving, if I'm looking at that aspect. If I'm looking at just quick extermination missions, yeah, she's pretty okay. She's definitely a little bit better at quick extermination missions than like half of these. So, better than Harrow, Hildren. Actually, Hildren is maybe a question, but better than Harrow, Ivara, and Lavos, definitely. But other than that, she's a pretty decent Warframe, pretty fun to use on occasion. Not that useful in most mission types, but you know, she's pretty cool. Most of these Warframes are not, I guess, best at one thing and are versatile in most situations. I think if you're not counting Steel Path, one of the most versatile Warframes definitely would be Gauss. But I am counting Steel Path, so yeah, that's gonna be it. Mesa. Mesa's gonna go into S tier for me. She definitely has DPS on par with Khora, maybe just a tiny bit better because she can shoot a lot more enemies and do a little bit more, maybe a little bit more damage, and she needs much less of a setup. She's great at extermination missions. She's decent at capture missions. She's not the fastest Warframe. Her Shadow Shield is pretty cool. It does help her to survive a little bit. I forgot to press F11. I just now noticed that. Oops. There you go. But she's pretty cool at that as well. She is a pretty good defense Warframe as well. If you need to put her on a defense mission, easy peasy. Put Mesa there and everything will die in a certain radius. Very fun. If you set her up the correct way, she can be a survivable Warframe. I would definitely maybe not put her in Steel Path, but nonetheless, a very good DPS Warframe, a very good defensive Warframe, an extermination Warframe. She is fun, and Mesa definitely, I think, deserves to be in the S tier spot. We have Mirage. Mirage is going to go into B tier. Her Explosive Regiment build is fun, but to a certain degree. It doesn't do a lot of damage in Steel Path. Her fourth ability is very good. Her if you use her first ability with, I actually kind of forgot the augment's name, but if you use her first ability and the augment that makes her, I guess, mirages or mimics, do 12% of your weapon's damage. Honestly, that is a really good build, but you have to dodge a lot, because one thing that puts Mirage down is her Eclipse. If her Eclipse was selectable, for example, you can select day and night, or I guess dark and light, it would make her definitely an A tier Warframe, but you cannot. Having damage reduction if you're standing in the dark is okay, but you have to stand in the dark. If you want to have an increased damage standing in the light, you have to stand in the light. That's what puts Mirage down, that she is dependent on her environment, and that is the only thing that puts her down. Other than that, she is definitely a great Warframe. I mean, every single one of these Warframes is great. It's just, in my opinion, Warframe's a little bit better than other Warframes in some certain aspects. So, definitely a B tier Warframe. If Eclipse was changed, I would definitely move her up to A tier without any question. And her Prism is really good as well. And as I said, Explosive Regiment, pretty fun to use as well. Seeing enemies just die all around. If you want to farm XP with her, use the Explosive Regiment build. It is easy peasy lemon squeezy. Necros. The Edgelord himself. But he does have competition down here somewhere. Where is he? Let me see. I can't seem to find Sevagoth. There he is. But the Edgelord himself, survivable Warframe, a must-have if you're farming something. A decent support frame, but not the best support frame. Definitely not that. I wouldn't even consider him a support frame. Let's go A tier. A tier, definitely. yeah, with his fourth ability and the augment that he gets with it, he can survive most of the things that these Warframes can. He is a master at farming, which makes me want to put him in S tier. What really makes me want me to put him in S tier. And I'm not sure. Like, he is a must-have in farming. That is for sure. And his survivability is decent enough that you don't have to worry about dying. But his scream, where he makes enemies run away, is kind of the gimmick, I guess. And soul punching is cool, but definitely wouldn't, you know, not the coolest ability in the world. So I'll keep him at A tier. I would definitely keep him in A tier, but I'm thinking of S tier. I'll continue on with the next Warframe, and I'll go back to him. Nezha. Decent surviving, decent crowd controlling with his fourth, or her fourth. And pretty good with Firewalker. You can do a decent sum of damage pretty fast with it. Fast missions can be pretty easy. Extermination missions can be pretty easy with her as well, or him. So I'm thinking B tier. Definitely B tier. She's pretty average. He's pretty average. So his Chakram is really good as well. The Blinking Chakram is decent. It's fun to use. It does fire damage. Fire damage reduces armor. B tier. I think B tier is perfectly okay, in my opinion. I'm kind of thinking of moving Gara up to B tier, because I'm looking at this tier list and I'm thinking of Gara maybe should be a little bit up. So I'll put Gara up at least once. Nidus, baby Nidus is going to S tier straight away like a rocket. He is incredibly good at surviving. Incredibly good. Really great damage dealer, has scaling damage. His second ability is very good at attracting enemies, pulling them closer together. Larva is incredible. His first ability does really good damage, and it also stacks as well. It scales well. His fourth ability, the planes of doom that heal you, have small little maggots that attack enemies, and when they explode, they fuck them up. And also his third ability, Parasitic Link, that if you link with an enemy, it does, the enemy takes, I think, around 50, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember the exact numbers, 50% of the damage taken to Nidus is converted to the Parasitic Link target, and if you put it on an ally, he gets extra power strength, or the ally gets 50 extra power strength. So he is incredible. With the Teeming Virulence augment, he is incredible at Steel Path. You can survive anything if you play him correctly, if you always have Parasitic Link active, if you have your 4 active, if you use Larva, if you use all of his abilities correctly. He is an incredible Warframe to use inside of Steel Path, inside of survival missions, defense missions. He can be decent at exterminations, but I would recommend that you don't play him in extermination missions because he needs a sort of a build-up, so there are better Warframes at that. But definitely, just because of the incredible survivability and also the Teeming Virulence augment, which increases your damage by 325%, if I'm correct, just because of that. S tier, definitely. And he looks simply incredible. His Prime variant looks incredible, and Deluxe skin looks incredible. Atlas. Now, one of the most hyped Warframes of my list that I adore, which is Nidus, to one of the Warframes that I think is definitely gonna go into D tier, or C tier. Maybe C tier. I'll think about it. Atlas is okay. He's the One Punch Man boy. He's the One Punch Man Warframe. He punches enemies, they die, and yeah, he's decent enough with his rubble thing that increases his armor. It's okay. His health, his armor is nothing really to write home about. His abilities are definitely not something to write home about. His rumbles are pretty bad. You need a lot of power strength on him to make his rumbles decent. Definitely not good at Steel Path. I wouldn't recommend him for that. I mean, if you're gonna play a One Punch Man build, he's definitely good. But I still wouldn't play him in Steel Path. But just because of that, I'm maybe thinking of C tier. But I think Limbo is a bit more useful in more situations than Atlas is. So for now, Atlas is definitely gonna stay here. Nova. Nova is going to go... Oh, I actually don't know. Slow Nova, Speed Nova, one of the two most useful builds inside of the game and having them inside of your team. I honestly think that Nova is a must in survival or defense missions to make the missions go faster. Definitely a must to have in interceptions as well. She can be pretty easy at capture missions because of her teleportation. She has incredible damage. She can have damage reduction as well. Wouldn't recommend her for Steel Path that much, other than, you know, compared to some other Warframes. But she's a great Warframe, and I think she definitely deserves to be an S tier Warframe just because of the versatility that she has. She definitely deserves to be an S tier Warframe, and I would definitely put her up there without any issue. Nyx. Nyx is gonna go. I'm gonna put it into C tier just because I kind of feel bad about Nyx. Nyx is one of the second Warframes that I ever wanted just because she looked cool. I'm so glad I didn't get her because I would have suffered. Nyx is okay. She's decent. The mind controlling aspect is kind of it's kind of a gimmick. It's not really that useful. Her fort ability is decent enough. It's fun, but it isn't the best thing in the world. She can be used in maybe survival missions, but really like mid to high level, let's say high level, maybe like 40-50 level survival missions, but not even that. I don't know. I'll put her down into D tier. Honestly, I don't think she's very useful. Oberon. Oberon's gonna go into B tier. Oberon is a very well-rounded Warframe. Definitely good at Steel Path. He can survive. He can do radiation damage, which makes the enemies fight themselves. And he just has to like look around and stand like a goat and eat the grass that he grows. And basically, that is it. He's a pretty fun Warframe to play and pretty underrated, to be perfectly honest with you. So they're literally the GOAT of Warframe. Pretty basic. I don't really have nothing else to say about Oberon, other than he's pretty basic, but he's really fun to play, I have to say. But we have Octavia. Octavia is going straight to S tier. Octavia is useful in almost every single mission type, other than capture. There are better Warframe stuff for that, and maybe extermination missions, but still. Survival missions, she is the Warframe to go. Defense missions, she is the Warframe to go. Interception missions, she is the Warframe to go. I mean, if you don't have a Nova. I mean, she's not on par with Nova, but Nova's useful in those missions as well. But it's kind of like a toss-up between these two. Octavia has infinite scaling. Well, not infinite scaling. If I'm correct, she doesn't have infinite scaling, but she has really, really fucking good scaling, to be honest with you. She has really good scaling. Her abilities are very useful, very versatile, very fun. You basically stand in one spot, activate your abilities, and just chill out as the enemies die around you without you doing a goddamn thing. She is one of the laziest Warframes and one of the best Warframes inside of the game. So, basically, that is it. We have Protea. Protea is gonna go into B tier. Very good abilities. Decent at surviving Steel Path, but you have to be very, very careful with her. That is like one thing. You have to be very, very careful. I mean, these Warframes are pretty good in their own aspects, so Protea, she's very good. Her temporal anchor is really good. Her artillery is incredible. The heat damage that it dispenses is really good. Her abilities in general are really good. So she's a well-balanced Warframe, and she is the mechanic Warframe inside of Warframe. She's a very good Warframe, and I would definitely use her in most of my missions. Definitely most of my missions. Revenant. Revenant is going to go into B tier as well, even though I love Revenant. Really good at surviving, really good at damage dealing. He is very good at crowd controlling with his first. Mesmer Skin is really good at surviving, of course. Fourth ability is really decent at killing enemies. I wouldn't really use it for Steel Path, the fourth ability, but I would use him in Steel Path. All of my hunts for Sister Liches and Kuva Liches were done with Revenant because he is very survivable. His third ability is very good because he gets health back. Just basically all-rounder, like these B-tier Warframes are. As I said, A-tier Warframes are something that they excel at. Mostly survival, apparently. Mostly survival, and but definitely not excelling as much as the S-tier Warframes do. Rhino. Rhino is gonna go into A-tier, or maybe... I'm gonna put him in A-tier. Roar is still incredibly good. His Iron Skin is not the best, but if you put an Ironclad Charge and an Iron Shrapnel build and, you know, like stack it up, you can get a massive amount of Ferrite Armor, so he's good in that aspect, but mostly the Roar. Roar is very, very good on him, and plus he's the easiest Warframes to basically get other than the beginning 3 Warframes. He's very fun to use and really new player friendly, and also a very good supportive frame and also a decent tanky frame. Definitely wouldn't play him in Steel Paths, but definitely a really good support frame. Saryn, the damage toxic queen, is gonna go into S tier. She's very good and really, really good at farming yourself some or affinity or farming yourself some focus. She is good at killing enemies. You do have to be pretty active to keep your spores up, but if you want something that's going to kill enemies basically on the same level as Octavia is, Saryn is there definitely to be played around with. Sevagoth is going to go into B tier. Again, he is basically sort of like a combination of 2 Warframes, and I love his little gimmick where he has like 2 forms. Some things that I don't like is that the energy is very fucky with him. If you have energy on his second form, you will lose it if you go back into your first and go back into your second. Hopefully that's changed. I'm not quite sure about that. If it is, correct me in the comment section below. But definitely a very fun Warframe, pretty balanced as well, pretty basic in some situations. Kind of some abilities were copied, not really copied, I guess, but he is a really good Warframe, very good for Steel Path as well, even though I didn't get the chance to use him that much in Steel Path, but definitely a decent Warframe to have nonetheless. Titania. Titania is going to go to... I have no idea. Titania's gonna go into C tier. Now, hear me out. Titania is going into C tier because of one thing. She is not the best in defense missions. She can be decent in survival missions, but there are Warframes that are definitely better than that. Even Warframes in B tier that are much better than her. The only people I see, and the only reason I play Titania is for fast missions, like capture missions, and maybe extermination missions, and that's basically it. I would never play her in survival missions. She has decent damage on her / archwing weapons, in quotation marks, and that's basically it. She goes tiny. Her buffs are not the best in the world. Honestly, Octavia gives much better buffs, and Roar is just a combined better buff than all of her buffs combined, so I wouldn't recommend her for that. Honestly, a pretty decent Warframe. I'm not saying she's bad, I'm just saying she's really good at fast missions, and that's basically it. Banshee. Banshee fell off so much. I'm really sorry about Banshee. Banshee is gonna go into D tier. Or maybe C tier. D tier. Her silence is... Oh, no. She's going into C tier just because of one thing, that she's a niche Warframe for creating weak spots on enemies. Her sonar is incredibly good. Now, why am I not placing her higher on the list? Because of that one thing. She has sonar, and that's basically it. Now, yeah, you could say that, for example, Gara only has her survivability and her, only her, I guess, shards of glass lying around her, killing enemies, but she also has survivability. And she can do defense missions with her fourth ability, let's say. And most of these Warframes have some abilities and 2 or 3 abilities that are useful, then not just one, like these Warframes have right here. Now, sonar is incredibly good because it can work on literally everything. I think maybe except some bosses, but even on Kuva Liches and Kuva and Sister Liches, she is incredible. I had a tier 5 Lich. She is, for survivability, she's atrocious. Never would take her into Steel Path unless I was camping with a team that could protect me. But she is incredibly good. I used her once against a Sister Lich that I had a problem with, that she was rank 5. I put on sonar on that Sister Lich. She disappeared in 5 seconds. And that's why Banshee's going to go into C tier, because of her sonar. And that is basically it. Now, Trinity, the Warframe that I had most trouble with in my last tier list. And this time I'm not going to fuck up, because I finally realized, and I played her, and I finally realized why a lot of people said that she was good. Trinity is very good at surviving. Yes, she's much better than I expected, honestly. Her second ability gives energy, which is incredible. Her fourth ability will, of course, heal you instantly, which is great. And the third ability, the Link, is incredibly good as well and increases survivability, which is incredible. So I'm very sorry for all the Trinity fans. I messed up. I put your Trinity in the C and D tier. I don't remember now, but I'm so sorry I messed up, and now I'm gonna redeem it. And I'm not doing this just because of that. I'm doing this because I actually now know that Trinity is actually a good Warframe. Valkyr. Valkyr's gonna go into C tier. Valkyr is a Warframe that is good for slashing and Warcry, and basically that is it. Sevagoth is basically Valkyr, but with more survivability, with more damage, with more utility, and basically just a better Valkyr. And that's basically it. She's only good at increasing your melee attack speed, and that's it. Her invincibility is not that invincible anymore. Her claws are pretty bad in her when you activate her fourth ability. Not the best Warframe. Honestly, she's only good for that, and that's why I'm going to put her in C tier. Vauban. Vauban is going to go into B tier. Vauban is a decent Warframe. His utility is very, very nice. His little Orbeez, so his little four little buddies, his first ability, is actually really good. They're actually really good and fun to use. His Flechette Orb can hold off an area at medium to sort of high level. When I say high level, I mean like maybe level 60, 90, 70, somewhere around there. Can hold down an area. His four, I guess, orbs that he can place down, like he has Flechette Orbs, he has that little booster pad, which is okay, it's mostly a gimmick. His Vortex is really good because it's toggleable, because you can choose to put down a Vortex or I kind of forgot what it's called, the thing that lifts up the enemies. I completely forgot what it's called. But you can definitely have some fun with Vauban as well. He's very useful. Honestly, I wouldn't compare him that much with Protea, even though they are sort of mechanical frames, sort of like mechanic frames. But they're different in their special ways. I think maybe Protea has a little bit more survivability and more damage output, but Vauban has more crowd control than she does. So yeah, I would definitely not compare those two, but Vauban is a really good Warframe, so that's why I would keep him there as well. Volt. Volt is going to go into S tier for one reason, because he's a very now. One thing that I want to clarify is, you might have seen that I put Inaros, for example, for survivability on top, and that's like the only thing he has. And I put, for example, let's say Banshee, because she has sonar in C tier. And that is why, you might be asking, like, why is that? Well, he's good at only one thing, and she's only good at one thing. Like, why isn't he in C tier? Because he's extremely good at that one thing. Like, he's extremely good at surviving. Sonar is good at reducing enemy, creating weak spots and reducing and creating weak spots on enemies and making them easier to kill. But honestly, if I were to do that, why not just pick Khora or Mesa? Like, I can kill enemies like pretty easily with those two Warframes, or even Octavia, or even Saryn. It's going to take me a little bit longer time, but more efficient, and the Warframes in general are much better than Banshee is. Banshee can die easily without any issues. So that's why these niche Warframes are here, and some of these niche Warframes are here. I came up across that just now when I'm talking about Volt. Volt is incredibly good at killing Eidolons. He is very good. I've seen people do solo runs with Volt against Eidolons many times, killing all three Eidolons many times over with a Volt. I played Volt recently a lot, believe me, like a lot. And he's incredibly good. He's incredibly versatile, honestly. Capture missions, easy. Extermination missions, easy. Defense missions, easy. Survival missions, easy. All of the missions you can possibly imagine he's pretty good at, and especially Eidolon hunting, he's incredibly good at that. Incredibly good. So definitely would put him here. Now, Wisp, going into S tier because of her massive ass. Then Wukong. We have Wukong. Wukong's gonna go into A tier. Wukong is gonna go into A tier. Oh, you want to hear about Wisp? Oh, sorry. Wisp, massive ass, and the best support frame in the game. Yes, Wukong is here. Yes, Trinity is here. But increasing your health by a massive amount, depending on the good how good the Wisp is, and increasing your reload speed and attack speed. Actually, I'm not the reload speed, but the attack speed of your weapon by a massive amount, depending on the build, is good. Is really good. She's a very good support frame, and that is basically why she's in S tier, and because of her massive ass. Wukong, the best and the fastest Warframe for capture missions. My last stream, I played capture missions, and I did the relic runs on Yuko and the Void. The fastest mission I did with him was 32 seconds, which is really good. That was a perfect run though, but my average with him is around 35-36 seconds per capture mission. So he's incredibly good at fast missions. Is he good at extermination missions? Not the best. Is he good at survival missions, defense missions? Yes. His Celestial Twin is incredibly good now. His Cloud Walker ability gives you health and also is good for fast missions. Incredibly good, especially if you put a sprint speed mod on him. His fourth ability is it's pretty bad. But his third ability that gives you armor is incredibly good as well. If you want to survive anything inside of the game, and his passive is incredibly good as well. If, like the first passive I ever talked about, but it's very good as well. All of these Warframes have their passives of their own, but they weren't that useful to talk about. Like Wukong is, his passive is much better, in my opinion. I mean, not much better, but worth talking about. So Wukong, definitely, he is sort of a jack of all trades, but he's not at the same time. I honestly think the jack of all trades definitely should be maybe Octavia. Definitely Octavia, because she can basically do any sort of mission type. So yeah, I would definitely put her there. But Wukong, if you want to do fast missions, oh goddamn is he good at that, or surviving. Those two are his, his, I guess, niches. So, Xaku. Okay, wait, first things first, I'll leave Xaku a little bit later. Yareli, D tier, pretty bad Warframe. Her abilities are pretty bad. Her little, what's, I actually forgot the name of her K-Dry type ability. Pretty useless. You can only use your secondary on there, and honestly, it's not that great. It makes her travel, I mean, it makes her travel pretty fast, but in close spaces it's really awkward. Wukong is definitely much better than that. Volt is much better at traveling faster. Even Wisp is much better at traveling faster. So, really, oh baby, do you need a fix? You're one of the most boring and most useless Warframes inside of the game. I'm gonna keep her at D tier, and she's gonna stay there comfortably. Xaku. Xaku is yo-yoing between S and A tier. He's extremely good at extermination missions. Extremely good at extermination missions. I love him so much for that. His survivability is decent as well. His abilities are well balanced. Well, oh, I'm really deciding like where should I put him. I'm not sure. I'll put him into S tier, definitely. I think he's one of the most versatile Warframes inside of the game. He's very good at killing enemies, especially good at killing enemies. Almost on the level of Mesa, but just a tad bit maybe worse, or maybe even better than Mesa, I'm not quite sure. But I would definitely put him in a S tier. Zephyr's gonna go into C tier, comfortable C tier, I think, for her. She's not the worst at anything, she's not the best at anything. She's like a really bad jack of all trades. Her first ability is decent enough. They changed it a little bit in a previous patch, which made it a little bit easier to use, I guess, and more useful. Her I guess bullet dodging ability, I kind of forgot the name of. Sorry, I haven't played her in a decent sum of time. It's okay. It's pretty good. It's a decent ability to dodge damage. Her fourth ability, the tornadoes. The tornadoes are pretty fun. But yeah, she's just a really bad jack of all trades. That's honestly what I think. Baruuuk. Oh damn, Baruuuk. The pacifying monk that when he unleashes his anger, he decimates everything in front of him. Oh damn, I'm not sure where to put you. I'm really not sure where to put you. I'm deciding maybe to put him into B tier. His melee, I guess, attack, his fourth ability is incredibly good. but some melee weapons do outclass it. Using the Desolate Hands augments Desolate Storm. Wait, I'm actually kind of I forgot what the augment's called. The one that adapts damage depending on the enemy type. A B tier. I would definitely keep him in B tier. Most of his abilities are quite not that good. Slowing down enemies with LOL is okay. Not with LOL, but with oh, I actually forgot the ability's name. I kind of forgot his ability. I mean, I didn't forget his abilities. I know his abilities, but I kind of forgot with ability. You can slow them. You can slow down the enemies with his second ability. His first ability, dodging damage, but his build is making Baruuuk very good is not that hard, but you just have to decide on which ability to focus on. If you want range and power strength, you're gonna have to sacrifice efficiency, and you're gonna have to sacrifice duration, which isn't that bad, but you know, he's a very interesting Warframe to build. But I think he's very good at what he does, and meleeing enemies is pretty good. I would take him into Steel Path, but as I said, some melee weapons outclass the damage that he does with his abilities, so I definitely wouldn't, you know, put him anywhere like near the top of the list. Caliban, I'm gonna put Caliban in D tier. This is not because he's bad. This is not because he sucks. Actually, I'm not gonna place him anywhere because I haven't really played enough with Caliban to actually put him in somewhere. So I'm gonna ignore him and go back to Chroma. Chroma's gonna go into B tier. Incredibly good, but if you dedicate a lot of form and a lot of time into it, when you do, Chroma is a really good dragon. He's the best dragon, of course, and the only dragon inside of the game. I'm kind of deciding maybe to put him into A tier, but I've honestly haven't enjoyed what's his name, Chroma, that much lately, so I wouldn't really put him anywhere higher up than he is. Chroma's decent, he's very fun, his damage output can be incredible, and his survivability can be incredible as well. But B tier is I think the place where he survived. Actually, no. If Wukong deserves to be here, Chroma definitely deserves to be in A tier, because he has, I think, even more survival than Wukong in some situations. He has a damage buff that is incredibly good. His fourth ability is lackluster, and his first ability is lackluster, but his second and his third definitely make up for it. And if you dedicate enough form and enough time to level him up, oh baby, is he good. Ember. Ember's gonna go into B tier. Honestly, extermination missions, incredibly good. Low to mid-level extermination missions, you can whiz and use your fourth ability as much as you possibly want to, and you're gonna kill everything that even comes or even looks at you the wrong way. Her damage reduction is really good, but the energy drain is massive. Her first ability is okay for charging up your third ability, which is okay. Your third ability in and of itself is okay. Basically, a well-rounded fire girl, and nothing really that excels enough to put her in A tier or definitely in S tier. Equinox is gonna go into C tier in my opinion. Equinox is gonna go into C tier because Mend and Maim is pretty good. Gathering up damage and releasing it all at once is really good, but there are Warframes that are really much better at doing damage than she is. Focus farming is basically, I think, one of the only things you can do with her at the moment. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't really find another purpose with her currently, so that is definitely it. Putting enemies to sleep and then gathering up focus and farming focus with her is like the only thing I see useful on Equinox, and basically that is it. So last Warframe is going to be Excalibur. Excalibur's going to go into B tier. Now, he's going to go into B tier because his Exalted Blade is decent enough, but not great in Steel Path. He is decently good for extermination missions, mid to high level. I mean, when I say high level, I mean like level 80 to 90. Other than that, I wouldn't really take him into Steel Path if I were you. He has Radial Blind. I mean, honestly, if I were to choose between Excalibur and Excalibur Umber. Excalibur Umber would be definitely, if it was this kind of a tier list, would be really high B tier, like almost here somewhere. But this is not, you know, if someone's higher, it means they're higher up. It's just like by tiers. Radial Blind is really good. Radial Javelin is an okay ability, not the best, but Exalted Blade and Radial Blind is basically what I would use on him, and that's why I think he is definitely deserving to B tier. Yes, I know that the upper echelon is kind of full at the moment, but I think that it should be this way. And I'm really happy on how this is balanced. For now, I'm gonna put Caliban into B tier just because I haven't played him that much to completely like fully put him somewhere in the list. So he's definitely gonna stay in B tier for the moment. He's decently balanced. He's pretty okay, but we don't know if some changes are gonna be coming his way yet. So I'm gonna put him into B tier just because. So there you go. That was my tier list. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, and if you guys like the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more content. If you didn't like some of my picks, definitely leave it in the comment section below. Decide why I didn't. As I said, it is top heavy, but I love that it is top heavy. I love that most like 95% of the Warframes is useful. Even C tier Warframes and even D tier Warframes. I'm not saying these are not useful. They're just really niche, really niche, and some are really useless. Like for example, Grendel, Hydron, Nyx, and Yareli. But basically, I love that I've made this list. I'm really happy. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys on the next one. The Gaming Weasel over and out.